Right, shall we actually talk about some rugby that actually has happened? So, so URC, right? I'm going to go first. I'm going to get the Welsh out of the way. Great win for Cardiff over the Stormers. Just want to say we did our hype video about Feinberg and Gomezulu, and I was watching him closely in this game. And at times it was like he was the only player on the pitch for Stormers. It's ridiculous how much of an influence he has on the game. Like he can do every kind of kick and some kicks that I've never seen someone do before. Like I swear at one point he did this curved through ball, like football style through ball, and I was like, I've never seen someone do it quite like that before. So yeah, I'm hugely on his hype train, and I'm really excited to watch him more. But Cardiff came back. It's such a morale boosting win, and it all told, it is already boosting the ticket sales for the Scarlets derby this weekend, which is great. And Mason Grady as well. So he's supposed to be the future at 13, but he just looks unreal on the wing. And Cam Winnett as well at fullback for Cardiff. He has been phenomenal these first few games. We were all hoping he'd get an opportunity with with Cardiff's squads thinning out, and how well he's been going for the under-20s, where he's probably been the under-20s best player for the last year. And he's really delivering on that. He looks very assured, so he's an exciting player as well. I won't talk too much about the Dragons down at the Sharks. The Sharks obviously brought all their Springboks back and dished out a bit of a hiding. It didn't help that the Dragons were not only injury hit anyway, but lost both fly halves during the game, and then their scrum was just getting absolutely destroyed. And that kind of was the tone for it, really. And then it was kind of semi-respectable for a bit, and then they just started playing too much and throwing intercepts and getting turned over in their own half and things, and the floodgates just opened, classic style. So, you know, fortunately, it does sound like Will Reid is going to be fit for the game against the Lions this coming week, and just fingers crossed for them being able to compete at least somewhat in that game. Just got to weather it, guys, I'm afraid. And then the West Wales derby between the Ospreys and Scarlets. The weather didn't help the occasion, unfortunately, made it a very difficult game, but I think it massively played into the Ospreys' favour, the type of gameplay that they like to have. They ran out 31 points to 9 winners, but Scarlets were terrible in this game. They really didn't offer anything. And the disappointing from a Scarlets fan point of view, it was in the second half, you could see the players looking around at each other going like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And that's the worrying thing. And it goes back to kind of how we were in South Africa as well, where the players looked underprepared for the game. And so there's a lot of pressure on Dwayne Peel at the moment from Scarlets fans. Then they're going to need a statement against Cardiff. And if we get battered by Cardiff, it's going to be, some people are going to have their knives out, unfortunately, which is a shame. And I don't think sacking Dwayne Peel as we stand today solves anything. But maybe it'll get to a point that there needs to be a change made. We don't know. Anyway, that's gotten that out of the way with. We've kind of touched on Leinster Munster already. I think my impression was the same as yours, Caolan, was that it was essentially a test match level game. Is there anything on it that you want to add? Like, is there a sense of disappointment from Munster, like it's a missed opportunity, or is it kind of like, you know?
It's a good point, because I think perception often changes the conversation, as we've talked about in a different manner. But like, this was billed as Leinster's revenge game. They had to win this game. Munster pulled the wool over their eyes last May fabulously, with the drop
goal. Do you support
victory. Munster? I'm as shocked as you are, with a nice thick Galway accent to boot, as if it wasn't confusing enough. No, it was billed as this revenge game, and Leinster had to win, which is understandable. That's how sport goes. And Leinster did win, but it was not this convincing victory. I think, again, you could make a case, having watched it back, that Leinster made more glaring errors, like handling errors, loose passes, things like that. I think Munster was just a case of ruthlessness and just the final 5%. And every team goes through phases where they're struggling to get just rewards for their attack, or to score enough, or for set piece dominance, whatever it may be. I think there's a case to be made that Munster could have won that game. And you even look at, say, there was a couple of questionable scrum calls and ruck calls that are still open for debate, and I'm not going to get into it because they were minutiae ones. But say Caolan Doris wins a turnover on the 22, it's a kickable penalty. If it goes the other way, because it may have been illegal, then if Munster go on that late
A
attack, they're looking for
50-50 decision going in Leinster's favour at the Aviva.
I was
I
never
can't
going.
relate.
I
I
was
just
never going
can't
to say
relate.
that. There's Leinster fans who think Craig Casey was in touch despite a frame before the one that they're
Oh,
showing.
don't give me your freeze frames on Twitter. We can all freeze frame.
Yeah, we could all superimpose his boot if we need to. Craig Casey wears size 15 shoes. That's how he was in touch. But no, like I think there's a case here that Munster could have won this game just as easily as Leinster could have came away with a 5-0 margin on the league table, and that's just, I think the gap is shortening, and I think maybe I think there'd be fans across the URC who would rather see someone else putting it up to Leinster as opposed to another Irish team. But I think it's good to see, especially for Irish rugby as
So
well.
are you saying that you were a big fan of when Glasgow beat them?
Oh, absolutely not. No, the only thing that I was a fan of was the fact that I was going to do a podcast on Leinster like 2 weeks later, and it kind of confirmed to myself what I was already thinking, but that didn't go down well. No, Irish rugby is in a good place. Games like that are in a great place. It's international rugby in the club game t-shirt, like 50,000 people there. Huge reception for Johnny Sexton before the game. Great game, great intensity. It was like a final in some ways. You know the way the finals they're not always the greatest actual rugby, but they're just intense.
It's
And
nice to
that's
see.
great.
It's nice to see that what happened at the World Cup hasn't taken the wind out of the sails of the Irish public. That they were still excited to see this one, because you might think that people would be like, "Oh, screw this," but it's nice to see that they weren't.
It should probably be said that this game is kind of, I'm not going to compare it to Judgment Day, but it is in that kind of like Saracens big game, in the fact that you get an awful lot of fans who just go to Dublin for this game. There you can get tickets through maybe businesses. It's an event. That's exactly it. Because I don't like using terms like day trippers or that one, when it literally takes a day to get up and down from Dublin sometimes. But no, it's an event, and that's kind of how it does well. Like if this game was in Thomond, though, I still think it gets 26,000 or whatever. So it's definitely good. But listen, it's there's been a lot going on in Dublin, so I think having games like that, like the Cater Taylor fight, having them go out down without a hitch and to be well enjoyed was certainly what the country needed. Even if there'll always be people from other sports in Ireland who'll downplay it, it was much needed.
Yeah, and from a neutral's perspective as well, like just what a game, what an occasion. And as well, we talked a lot about rotation. It wasn't Munster's first team, yet they were still really competitive. And for me, this like Leinster v Munster hasn't been like up until last season. Probably I didn't really care too much about them necessarily, because Leinster were generally going to win the game, and I think that has finally changed, and I think that's brilliant. And I love the way Munster didn't necessarily put out their first team, and they should have won the game. Like I think that's a really positive sign as well. And just this whole World Cup fatigue thing, it's great. It doesn't seem to be too visible in Ireland, which is brilliant. Like as I said, Connacht sold out that game. I think it was last week against Leinster this coming Saturday. So yeah.
I was about to ask, how did Connacht get on, and then I remembered how they got on. So first kind of blip.
We talk about Ulster, Enda.
We'll come to Ulster next. So Connacht first kind of blip in the season. C'est la vie.
Yeah, I think it comes back to the strength of the Bulls. We haven't really talked about them that much, but they've recruited really well in the off season. I think they're going to be thereabouts.
Try on debut.
Yeah, and they just look like they recruited well, and I just think they're going to be thereabouts. And as I said earlier, like they haven't lost to non-European opposition in this fortress, and it's altitude. And I listened to Pete Wilkins after the game, the kind of coach, and he said fatigue, like it causes fatigue, and fatigue leads to errors. And we saw a lot of those errors from Connacht again. But I mean, we did still score. It wasn't Connacht's necessarily first team as well. And I just think that they'll take it. And to be honest, Connacht played a lot better in the second half. And listening to the coach after the game as well, Pete Wilkins was very pleased with how they performed. And I think that's really important, because he's obviously seen a lot more than we've seen. And so he's seen them implement the game plan and everything. And yeah, I just think it's one really frustrating aspect. The most frustrating aspect about this game was that Connacht didn't get a 4-try bonus point, despite how much they actually scored in the game, and they did have an opportunity to squeeze a 4th try in at the end, but the ref actually reversed the decision because of apparently some mouth from one of the Connacht players potentially calling for a yellow card. But it's also it's incredibly frustrating. But I'm actually delighted from a referee's point of view, and because you don't see enough of that punished, and I like to see that. But I think Connacht, that was really sloppy, not getting the bonus point at the end. But I think a lot of this has to go down to the conditions, and also the Bulls are in a great spot. I think they're going to be thereabouts.
We don't do ref chat on this pod, but the ref disallowed a Bulls try that had absolutely nothing wrong with it. He said that the guy was off his feet. Nonsense. But anyway, doesn't matter. I did get an interesting bit of feedback from a South African fan who was saying that not only you got the altitude and stuff there at the moment, there's also a heat wave, and the Bulls
36 degrees.
The Bulls players knew that not to like go all out unless it was like on. So they were playing quite slowly. They were kind of, when they had the ball, they were kind of holding back. They weren't going crazy with offloads because they are quite a running, offloading, exciting team. It was only when they got the call yes, now, that's when they would go for it, and then they would all take loads of time to take kicks, would take loads of breaks and things. That's just kind of the learning how to play in South Africa that obviously someone like the Bulls have, that visiting teams like Connacht maybe don't have. And to your point, Caolan, the team that first wins there from Europe, that will be a huge history moment. Right, come on then. What happened to Ulster?
I only caught a glimpse of this game, so I might let Caolan take this. But just one thing on Glasgow, they do not lose at Scotland. They just don't lose. So and I think Ulster they've been hit or miss, and there've been rumours. I don't know how happy everything is up in the north, but we'll let Caolan take this one.
Yeah, I had one eye on it now, to be honest. I put it on the laptop for the first half, put it on the telly for the second half. And post 5-point Interpro defeat, you're not exactly at your happiest. And being a Munster fan, you don't want either team to win. But no, Glasgow they're formidable at home. They've had one loss at home in Scotland since January of 2022. That was against Munster in the quarterfinal. They've had incredible ability. They play in a really exciting brand of on-ball.
Scottish team lose a game that matters. Sorry. Why do I have to be like this?
Second week in a row.
I did not say it this time. I did not say it this time. All right. No. They play an incredible brand of rugby, to be fair to them. There is great style to it. They've racked up a lot of tries. And Ulster defensively they've looked porous at times since they lost Jared Payne. I know he's now at Scarlets, not doing an almighty messianic job or anything like that.
Well, he's switched from being a defence coach to an attack coach, so I don't think you could draw.
Oh, right. Apologies for that. So I thought he was a wonderful defence coach at Ulster, to be fair.
But he might still be. We don't know.
Yeah, well, you could probably do with it, to be honest. But no, it was a poor performance from Ulster. There is question marks about, the dressing room, but there has been injuries as well. So it's always hard to put your finger on it. They have enough excuses there that if they do perform poorly every once in a while, but then at the same time, Glasgow are a physical side who go 6-2 quite a lot in terms of bench split, and Ulster picked 3 lads under the age of about 23 or 4 as their back rows. So, maybe the writing was on the wall. I did expect Glasgow to win, but to get a bonus point over Ulster is quite a result, and hopefully they take their foot off the gas as they head to Cork on Friday night.
Cool. What other games we got then? So Lions Zebra. Did anyone catch much of this one? I didn't see much of it. I was going to stick it on, and then I saw the scoreline, and I was like, oh, no, maybe not.
I was in the same boat. I was gonna try and make an effort to see it, but I was like half an hour late, and it was over at that stage.
Yeah. It was early on quite early in the day for the European times. I think it was on midday, if not 5-1. Okay, so yes, so exactly. I think it's just one of them. Lions are back in the South Africa teams are back in South Africa, and they are hammering teams, and I think that's a feature of the league. Like we said, Zebra, this isn't going to define their season in any kind of a way. But it is nice to see the Lions put a scoreline on someone just for a bit of confidence, because they have had a really tough tour of Europe. So that is nice from that point of view. And then Enda, did you catch Edinburgh Benetton?
I caught some of this game. I kind of had it on the whole game on in the background, but like it was good. I think Benetton, I'm not sure if Benetton maybe necessarily deserved it, but I think they like it. I'm not too surprised that they came away with the win. But just looking at their recruitment, this is just a really good result for them, and this is a game I don't think they would have won in previous seasons. I mean, look at Umaga as well. Like when you're looking at the players who they have, I just think, yeah, this is just exactly where I want the league to be. In terms of Edinburgh, Edinburgh were right in this, and like Benetton, they were down to 14 players won. Like, did it get a player yellow carded? Edinburgh did get a player sent off. Well, this was in the 77th minute, I think it was. So that definitely affected them. And look, Edinburgh did almost win. Like Healy did. Like the last kick of the game was an attempt to drop goal by Healy, which is exactly what he did to Connacht a couple of weeks ago. I managed to get the win, but he did. Like, that's how close this game was. And so I think that just shows the importance of it. But yeah, like it's just a game I potentially wouldn't have watched in previous seasons, and this year round I decided to have it on, albeit in the background, but like it certainly had its moment, like that Mendy try that I mentioned. And just seeing a really healthy crowd in a purpose-built stadium is exactly what you want from this league. So I think a great win for Benetton. And Edinburgh, look, that they're still thereabouts, which is good from a Scottish perspective as well.
Yeah, it's nice to see Benetton get back on the horse after their defeat last week, because you didn't want them to like start promise and then fall away. It's nice to see them maintain that, and I hope they get top 8, because I think that would really it'd be good for the league, and I think it would be a real boon for Italian rugby as well.